Now in the past, we've looked at the TRX-4M and we've looked at the Furitek Fury Wagon, but now there's the Ascent 18, which has been around for a while from Redcat, but we just got our hands on it and it's a really impressive truck. Even before you compare it to these other trucks, which we will do here in a little bit, all on its own, it has some really nice features and its price to make it quite attractive. Now, before we start comparing these trucks and getting into the nitty gritty, we were able to spend a good amount of time driving the trucks, driving the Ascent 18 out in our indoor facility where we have a little crawler course set up. And I've got some things that I really like about the Ascent 18, and then there's a few things that I don't. Now what's really nice about it is its size. It's 18 scale. The 18 scale is just a little bit bigger. It's a little bit more robust on the terrain and it gives you a bit more flexibility to tackle some harder terrain than a 1/24th scale is going to allow you generally. It also has oil-filled dampened shocks and they're pretty dang smooth. They're also a stubby spring style shock where they are attempting to have a lower center of gravity by using a half spring rather than a full spring, and there are some disadvantages to that, but overall, the shocks are pretty nice. There's also aluminum chassis rails on this truck. They are 2mm thick, flat chassis rails, and they're actually pressed in at certain spots, and in the front, they're a high clearance so the steering servo never hits them, and overall, they're really nice chassis rails in aluminum. The servo is really strong. It's a Metal Gear servo. It's a servo on axle setup with a 4-link suspension, and overall, the servo strength is pretty dang amazing. There's no complaints there. There's always room for improvement, but for an out-of-the-box ready to run, the servo may be the best servo to come with any mini crawler. The axles are portals. They're really good looking portals on the front and rear of this truck. They're using ball bearings. They have metal gears inside the portals, and overall, they're a really nice setup. And these portal axles are just gonna give you a lot of clearance out on the terrain and keep you moving more and getting hung up less. There's also lots of upgrades available from Redcat at least. Redcat seems to be making lots of different upgrades for the truck in aluminum and brass and in different colors to weigh down the truck or make it more durable. Aftermarket support from other brands does not seem to be as robust, but it's still early. The truck hasn't been around all that long, although there are some really nice Furitek brushless systems that you can add to the truck. The next great thing about this truck is it is performance oriented. It's got the portal axles like we mentioned, but the body, the bumpers, and the tire package make it really well suited to perform well out on the rocks, and it sways more towards that performance bias. The body is really clean. There aren't many hard plastic accessories or little details on there to weigh it down. There's no LEDs. The bumpers are really simple with a single bar on the front and rear. They don't hang out much. There's nothing big and bulky to get snagged. And then the tires, they're oversized, large diameter tires that come on the truck immediately. The next, and maybe the best thing about this truck overall, is its price. It's $120 ready to run, including the battery and the charger. You only need AA batteries for the transmitter. When the truck originally came out a few months back, it was only $100, and they sold out quick. We were out of stock at AMain Hobbies for quite some time, but we recently got them back in, and Redcat has raised the price to $120, and that was probably pretty smart to do. Now, some of the cons or things that maybe aren't quite so great about the truck, well, one of them is going to be those shocks. The shocks are really nice and smooth, oil filled, and they have that cool stubby spring, but you can't really adjust the tension of that spring so well on this shock. And one complaint I have about the truck is that it has almost no sag to it when you drop it down. You can lay the shocks down a little bit more on the chassis rails since there are some adjustment holes there, but overall, it doesn't have that much sag to it. Taking a peek at the Fury Wagon, which we have modified to lay the shocks down a lot. It has so much sag when you drop it down, where the Ascent 18 kind of has a high center of gravity stance out of the box. And that high center of gravity is kind of another con about the truck in its stock form. And when we were climbing and descending, we had issues of the truck actually wanting to roll back on us. Now, the last con about the truck, which we discovered when it was rolling and tumbling down the hill, is sometimes the body will pop off. And basically, we forgot to mention it, but it has a clipless body system that is really nice, and it's got a thumb screw in the back, and then it hinges up on the front. Well, sometimes if you take a tumble, the front end hinge piece would become disconnected from us. It's not that big of a deal, but the other two trucks have never had the body pop off. The Furitek uses 4 body clips to hold on the body, which is not nearly as convenient as a clipless system. And then the TRX-4M has a clipless body fastening system where it uses a clip in the front and the rear end, and that works really well to quickly secure and disconnect the body from the chassis, and that's never come off on us either. Now, if we take a deeper dive in comparing these trucks, which are really dang similar, we see that the Ascent's gonna be the least expensive, it's $120. The TRX-4M, the high trail at least, which is what we have here, and it does have some modifications, that's $180. And then the Fury Wagon is a $200 ready to run. That's mainly due to the Fury Wagon coming with brushless motor and ESC electronics from Furitek, and it's extremely smooth. It's the best electronics package out of all of these trucks, with the Traxxas and the Redcat both having brushed systems. It should be noted though that the Redcat Ascent has pretty smooth electronics even though they're brushed, where on the TRX-4M it's not quite as smooth, and the truck really needs the optional lower gearing set for adequate crawling control. The portal axles also on the Ascent 18 also come on the Fury Wagon, but the TRX-4M comes with straight axles, which may be a pro or con depending on your axle bias. Bearings versus bushings, they all come with bearings, but the Fury Wagon actually comes with bushings. The battery types are really similar. They're all 2S's, with the Fury Wagon coming with a 600 milliamp hour battery, but look at its location in the chassis. It sits down low. Now, the clipless body fastening system, we already mentioned that. The chassis rails also, they're gonna be aluminum on the Ascent and the Fury Wagon. They've got nice rails with a steel C-channel system on the Traxxas. Now to go over the cons, the Ascent, we already mentioned it. It's got the non-adjustable shocks, it's got the high CG, and then the body pops off sometimes. For the Traxxas though, the gearing's too high. It also is a high CG setup. It's got those straight axles, and then the bumpers get hung up on the Traxxas quite a bit. It's meant to be a really good looking truck, but that is sacrificing some of the performance. For the Fury Wagon, the biggest cons are that it's got bushings. They could be upgraded to bearings pretty easily, but that's just gonna cost you more money. The truck also comes with smaller tires, which is a little bit of a disadvantage. The last con is just that it's got the body clips, which is an advantage if you don't want the body to ever pop off, but it's gonna take you more time to access the internals. Now, sticking with the Fury Wagon, for the pros, it absolutely has the best motor and ESC system in its class. It is ultra smooth, extremely precise and controllable. Nothing beats brushless. It also has the best chassis rails. These aluminum rails are amazing with so many different adjustment spots, and that leads to this truck having the lowest CG setup. The pros on the TRX-4M, that's gonna have the best body and color options available if you like that variety. Plus the bodies have the best details and looks. These trucks also have the best aftermarket support with more options than any other mini crawler out there. It's just staggering. And then it also has the best clipless body fastening system. The Ascent 18 though, it absolutely has the best servo in class with so much torque. It's amazing this comes on or ready to run. It's also gonna have the best performance package. Like I mentioned, the clean body that's lightweight, the clean simplistic bumpers that don't get hung up much, and then the big aggressive tires that are just extra grippy and tall for a little bit more clearance. And when you factor in the Ascent 18 costs $120, it is absolutely the best bang for the buck. Go check out the Ascent 18 or anything else we talked about with our links down below. I'm Brett from AMain Hobbies, and thanks for watching.